So what do you have to convey in the LinkedIn profile? I talked earlier about having not too much information, but having enough information. And this is what I'm talking about. Quantifiable metrics. Quantifiable metrics, which means grew revenue by 32%, reduced waste by 45%, hired 17 people, 14 of whom were promoted, et cetera, et cetera. When you quantify your achievements, you're conveying to the reader that you are a no-nonsense business professional. Every job has metrics. Every job, from the CEO to the executive assistant. Now, people aren't always clear on their metrics, and shame on their manager for not helping them get clear. But you're not the kind of person that relies on your manager. You rely on you. So conveying to the reader the few quantifiable metrics that are the most impressive is super important. It's way more important than the job description. I don't really care that you were product manager for this product line. I want to know that you launched 6 new products, 4 of which went on to be profitable, and 1 won the award for best industry new product, right? That is impressive. That's quantifiable metrics. And I talk to candidates sometimes, and I'm blown away by their achievements, and I'm like, why didn't you say this on your LinkedIn profile? They didn't want to brag. They're humble. They're too busy. They were too lazy. They didn't think it mattered, and I'm telling you that it matters. So focus on achievements more than job descriptions. How have you created value in the past? If a recruiter or a headhunter or a CEO sees that you have created value in every role that you've been in, it is a very good predictor, probably the best predictor, that you will create value in this next role. And so when you don't have that information, it doesn't mean you don't have the right stuff. It just means I'm left to guess. And again, when they're left to guess, when in doubt, leave it out. They move on to the next profile. I also want to talk about unspoken objections. So your LinkedIn profile gets 6 seconds, and the reader is going to decide, am I going to spend 15, 30 minutes with this person? Anything that can derail that decision as an unspoken objection, something that's in their mind lurking, you need to proactively address. And I'll give you some examples in a few minutes. The best way to kind of think about this for any job you've ever worked in any position, every industry, it doesn't matter, is SAR, situation, action, result. What was the situation I stepped into? What were the key actions that I took? And what was the result? What do I mean by situation? It might have been a turnaround. It might have been a new product. It might have been a company that just started and got founded. So very briefly, kind of what was the situation? Now, you don't need to describe that if you work for Apple. People kind of know, but unless it's a household name company or extremely well-known situation, you should assume the reader has no idea, right? Is this a $50 million company? Is this a $500 million company? I'm shocked that there are multi-billion-dollar companies I still read about every day that I'd never heard of. So don't assume the reader knows, and don't assume that they're going to take the time to research it, right? You want to spoon feed it to someone. What were the couple of actions, not the 17 actions and laundry list that you took, but the 1 or 2 key actions? I launched a new product. I turned around this product line. I revamped the sales force, etc. And then most importantly, what was the result? And a lot of times I actually lead with the result. So reduced waste by 48% by doing this, right? Don't kind of bury the lead and have a whole bunch of stuff and then 48% at the end, right? You want to be front and center. So every time you have an interview, a meeting, every time you work on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, situation, action, result, SAR. You can't say it enough. Okay, before we go to photo, I want to touch on something which I just showed you, which is unspoken objections, because I see this all the time. Probably the most common question I get is, I have a gap in my resume for whatever reason. It could be I took a year off to help my sick parent. I took time off of the workforce, wanted to raise a kid, whatever it might be. Wanted to travel the world. There's no judgment. The judgment is going to be that if you leave that gap on your LinkedIn profile, 9 times out of 10, the judgment will be negative. It'll be a negative assumption that there's a gap here, and that means there's probably a problem. I only have 6 seconds. I don't want to spend time trying to figure out the problem. When in doubt, leave it out. I'm gonna move to the next profile. I got 500 million other profiles to look at. You're far better off filling that gap. And I don't mean plugging it with crap. I mean giving the legitimate reason of what you were doing during those times. Now, hopefully it's a good reason. Hopefully you were staying active somehow, or volunteering, or working in nonprofits, or raising a kid, or helping your parent, whatever it was. But that is far better than just leaving a gap, especially in the past 15 years of your profile. If it's 20, 30, 40 years ago, no one's gonna care, okay? And I would spend extra time on those past 10 to 15 years.